Angie, do we have a Sheldon going to lead us? Okay. It is the Sheldon show, really? Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to call our meeting to order today. We'd like to welcome everybody out to the Herriman City regular Planning Commission meeting for this Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance by our own Sheldon. You might as well. You're on the agenda all night, so.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We do have a full quorum tonight. We appreciate everybody being here. Are there any conflicts of interest with any of the items on today's agenda with anybody on the Planning Commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3.4, which is an approval of the minutes for both September 18th and October 2nd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve item 3.4.
I have a motion by Heather.
Second.
Second by Andrea. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We'll move on to item 4.1, which is a review and consideration of a conditional use permit for a site plan. By Sheldon.
Okay. You guys have me all night, so.
Yeah, all night. Appreciate it.
All right. So as mentioned, this is a conditional use permit for commercial development site plan for the Teton Commercial Lot 1, located here off 118 South and just west of Mustang Trail Way. This is, I guess, the continuation of a project you guys approved a few months ago on Lot 2. So the designs are very similar to the previous proposal. Sorry.
Maybe. There we go.
Okay. Again, as I mentioned, so this is Lot 1 of the Teton commercial subdivision. The proposal is 3 structures. The largest structure on the west side is approximately 7,000 square feet, about 23 feet tall. Will consist of six units. The 2 structures to the west are about 2,000 square feet, 19 feet tall, and both of those comprise, have a drive-through component to them. Parking requirements for these two, for this land use here would be 29 stalls. This is based off the requirements of the MDA. The applicant is providing 31 stalls. And just to kind of recall from the last meeting we did, there was a shortage on parking on Lot 2. And just to reassure you that additional parking is being provided. Here's some of the building finishes. Consist of brick, stucco, some architectural metal paneling, composite siding, and bronze aluminum storefront. As you said, it's very similar to the site plan that was approved previously. The landscape plan, as proposed, it does meet city standards. There are some minor corrections that need to be addressed, some we can address during the permitting process. Based on zoning requirements, it does meet the C2 commercial design standards, the Teton master development standards, as well as the conditional use standards. And as mentioned, there was some minor concerns, I guess, that can be addressed when we at the time of permitting. And one is just the landscaping rock in the parking strip has to be 1.5 inches plus, and there's a couple trees that are located within a Clearview area that have to be kind of relocated. And then engineering is required too that they provide and execute a long-term stormwater agreement, and that's typically submitted during substantial completion. That being said, staff does recommend approval. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Great. Any questions for Sheldon on this?
Are there any fences between this property and the adjacent school?
Yeah, so there's an existing fence between the charter school and this development. Now, when the subdivision was recorded, we did, there is a requirement for precast fencing, but there's an existing, I think a 3-rail or, no, there's an existing vinyl fencing there. It was already landscaped and built in, and at that time they decided just to let that fencing remain as opposed to replacing with a precast.
Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, is the applicant here?
The applicant is here.
Okay. All right, if you'd like to come forward and provide any additional information that we need to be aware of, or maybe Sheldon did a good enough job, but please go ahead and state your name for the record as well.
Sure, it's Greg Stephenson, architect. Not really. It's just a follow-up to our Lot 2, maintaining the same architectural elements. Eventually, we will come in the next probably 60 days with the final building on Lot 2, which is a 2-story office building. So yeah, we're proceeding pretty quickly. They'd like to get started as soon as we can get through permit and get those last 3 buildings. They have several tenants already lined up for
Great.
it.
Wonderful. Any questions or concerns with these recommendations then as well? Okay,
No.
good to know. Any questions for the applicant? Great. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. Any discussion by Planning Commission or a recommendation? Well, I guess this isn't a recommendation. This is an actual, yeah. Go ahead for a discussion.
Maybe just because I'm an architect and being a pain in the rear, just a quick critique. I would just say in the renderings, I noticed a lot of different accent roofs. If maybe there were less accent roofs, just so that there was more cohesiveness on to the campus, or that might make it feel a little nicer, but that's not in our code, and we are not going to try and enforce anything that's not in our code. So
Just a suggestion for the development, for staff as well. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve item 4.1 with staff's 6 recommendations.
Very good. We have a motion by Heather. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I'll have a second by Jackson. We'll do a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Preston.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Tara.
Yes.
Daryl.
Yes.
And Andrea.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 4.2, which is a review and consideration of a 1-year extension of a preliminary plat approval for the Wolf subdivision.
Wolf Cove subdivision.
Wolf, CO, I didn't know what that meant. Was that Cove County Company? Anyhow.
Wolf Cove, that's what it says on the plat. So
All right, very good. Thanks, Sheldon.
this is a request for subdivision extension for a preliminary plat that was approved back in 2022. This is
Yes.
located off 129 South, I think it is.
Yeah.
And Rosecrest Road. This was a 5-lot subdivision that was approved back then. I guess the reason that the applicant's requesting this extension is because they were waiting for the JJ Farms Road to be installed. That wasn't one of their obligations for this development. That was kind of a slow-moving progress on that particular road section. It's about to be completed. Unfortunately, the applicant's deadline for the plat to be recorded was in November. It was actually today, I believe. So they're just trying to get ahead of the ball to make sure they can still move forward with recording the plat. As I mentioned, it's a 5-lot subdivision, all half-acre lots. It was approved back in 2022. Again, the original conditions will be continued through that extension as well. As per our ordinance, which was recently updated, we now do limit extensions to 1 year. So they only get 1 year for an extension. After that, they have to reapply.
Okay.
And just wrapping up here, yeah, staff does recommend approval of this item with the following recommendations. The applicant is online, so if you have any questions, I'm sure he can answer those.
So they can come back in another year,
They
right?
cannot.
No, they cannot.
They
Okay, I
cannot.
just wanted to make sure I understood that right. So that item 2 is, will expire. All right, any questions for Sheldon before we? Okay. All right, sounds like the applicant is online. Sean, I don't know if there's any additional information you want to provide to us, but, or any concerns you may have or want to share with us?
No, I appreciate it. Sheldon did great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate being here. Any questions or thoughts here? Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Yep. With that, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion to approve item 4.2 with staff's 2 recommendations.
All right, we have a motion by Heather. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by, sorry, who was that? Oh, sorry, Preston. I heard a voice down there. All right, motion by Heather and a second by Preston. We'll do a roll call vote and begin with Preston.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, this next item, before I get Sheldon up here, this next item is up for, item 4.3 is on for a public hearing. So I would like to read the public comment policy and procedure. The purpose of the public comment policy is to allow citizens to address items on the agenda. Citizens requesting to address the commission will be asked to complete a written comment form and present it to the deputy city recorder. In general, the chair will allow an individual 3 minutes to address the commission. A spokesperson recognized as representing a group in attendance may be allowed up to 5 minutes, and this policy applies to all public hearings. With that, we'll move on to item 4.3, which is review and consideration of preliminary plat for a minor subdivision with 2 residential lots, known as Holly's Pond.
Okay, we'll just move forward here. As you mentioned,
There we
this is a
go.
preliminary plat for the Holly Pond subdivision phase 2. This is located off of Rose Canyon Road and about 130th South. The area here for development is outlined here in this red box. It's 0.81 acres. This current map does not show the correct zoning. They were approved and rezoned for an R110 back in August. It just hasn't been updated in our GIS maps yet. As I mentioned, this is phase 2 of Holly Pond subdivision. It only consists of 2 residential lots. Each lot is a 1/3 acre, and it includes the extension of Holly Pond Lane, extending it further to the east, for future development. Here we're just showing that the landscape plan for the subdivision. This section here is the two lots that are proposed, part of this proposal. Just a few things a few things that from findings for the zoning is, per ordinance, being that the zoning did change to R110, a residential component, and it is adjacent to an agricultural property, they are required to put in a 6-foot vinyl fence along the perimeter of the properties that are adjacent to these agricultural uses. And that would be the south and east sides of the development here. And as we discussed through the work meeting, they did request 2 deviations to the standards. One was for the retention ponds, and that was to allow the retention ponds to be placed on the lots. City staff did approve those deviations with the following requirements: that the detention ponds on the lots do have access easements and provide stormwater maintenance agreements for those. And then the portion of the retention that falls in the public right-of-way, an additional fabric barrier to be installed to help with preserving and maintaining the longevity of that storm drain system. And in addition to that, is it pay the fee in lieu for the conversion of the detention pond in phase 1 from retention to detention, and to provide that future connection to stormwater into the future east developments. Now, on the road, the second standard they requested was, the second deviation of the standards they requested was a road section, and that's just reducing the right-of-way on the north side of the property here, and they asked for a deviation to reduce that to from 53 feet to 43 feet, removing the park strip and the sidewalk on the north side of the road. Again, that's something city staff did consider and did approve with several requirements. Again, here we'll just go back to reduce that. Well, with them removing that sidewalk and the retention and and the parking strip. Let me slow down here. I'm kind of getting carried away on myself. One of the requirements for that deviation was that they had to provide pedestrian access to the south side of the road to provide, a safe pedestrian access throughout the subdivision, essentially. Again, as I mentioned, these are some of the requirements. These are outlining some of the conditions recommended by staff. One was, as per required per ordinance, is 6-foot vinyl fencing on the south and east side. Provide easements for the retention ponds on the lots, as well as addressing those issues with the retention pond in the right-of-way, providing that future connection, and then again installing that sidewalk in phase 1. So that's just kind of an illustration of what will be installed there to provide that pedestrian crossing. Again, staff does recommend approval with the following conditions. If you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. Not, the applicant is here to answer questions as well.
Perfect. Great. Any questions for Sheldon?
Sheldon? Oh, go ahead.
Sheldon, my understanding, what I heard was the paved width of the road is still standard. It's just that.
Yeah, so it'll be, so on the north side, it'll be curb and gutter on the north side, and then on the south side, you'll have the full park strip.
And future development will put in.
Yeah, so when the future development comes in, they'll be responsible for installing the park strip and the sidewalk.
Future development's getting a little bit of a plus. They don't have to add the sidewalk, where this one's putting in everything else, so,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Andrea, did you have a question?
Just a question on the stormwater connection. So when that east develops, they'll have to pay their portion, right? And then the bond from the fee in lieu will cover this portion, right?
I think Josh might be able to answer that question a little better for you on how that requirement, whether they bond for or how that connection happens or when it happens.
You just can't sit there tonight. We'll get a few steps into.
Yeah, so it's just to get that system to connect over to the east when that does go in. It'll be probably 100 feet or whatever.
And that's what the fee in lieu of is?
Right, so
is-
Yeah.
that should pay for their portion, and then the new development would have to pay their portion, right?
They would be paying for all the stormwater infrastructure they need. It would just be to connect the infrastructure from this Holly's Pond area into whatever goes into the east.
Okay, I think just my concern was, I know sometimes the fee in lieu is taken and then it takes years for the next development to happen, and then the city has to cover
And
that
it inflates a
difference.
bunch. Yeah, we run into that all the time.
Do you see that other property developing pretty soon? Have you heard anything, or?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
In a nutshell. Love those one-word answers. Very good. Great questions. Any other questions for? All right. Apparently the applicant's here. I'm assuming you're the applicant. Is there any additional information you'd like to provide? If you'd like to come forward, you're welcome to do so. Go ahead and just state your name for the record as well, please.
My name is Alan Prince. I'm one of the partners of MP&G, and that owns this parcel of ground. We have this under contract to the people who who have also buying the east piece, and it'll go into, emerge into that and link our present Holly's Pond, that the improvements are just finishing in that. They have bought the bulk of those lots, and so it'll be somewhat of a continuation of Sky Ranch, as it were, that will come in and fill in Holly's Pond and then connect through that east and actually ultimately wrap that whole neighborhood. So that's all in active participation right now.
Great. Any questions or concerns with the recommendations from staff on what sounds like
we
you've got your variances and deviations approved, so.
We wish they were half of them, but no, I'm kidding. We're just fine with.
Great.
We've worked through it with engineering and are grateful for their input.
Wonderful. Any questions for our applicant? We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, maybe we just go to the last page that shows the recommendations for us. Any questions or excuse me, any discussion or comments from Planning Commission?
I have a quick question. This may be for staff. The site plan that's shown of this overall subdivision, not just these two units themselves, it was a different site plan when we had approved this, because it was actually showing it up hitting the street above and not hitting Rose Canyon. Has that subdivision layout been approved already?
The subdivision here,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's deviated from the preliminary plat that you guys did approve.
Because we didn't have a road going on Rose Canyon at the time when we approved it. It was actually going and hitting the subdivision above.
Road, let's
Yeah.
Yeah.
draw on this one.
Right, and so this is coming up and it's hitting right here at Rose Canyon,
Rose
right?
Canyon Road.
Yeah, last time it was actually hitting this street here. Right, Right. And that was contingent upon the approval of this development when we last saw this.
Could you kind of show me?
Yeah, so when we last looked at this parcel here and the subdivision, instead of coming and actually hitting Rose Canyon, it was actually hitting this private road, and it was contingent upon them voting.
Yeah, I think he's
So
talking
what
about that road on the
what
north.
was,
Yeah.
is, I think they always intended to have this here. This is why I recall this, the interest
Okay.
being here. This, up here is a private access easement.
Right.
That the,
This neighborhood, yeah.
Are we getting this
and
recorded?
they
I
didn't
hope?
want any improvements at all. I think the applicant
Okay.
would work with them, trying to secure that property up there to actually bring the road in there, but they would not do that.
Okay.
So they went up doing a land swap with this person here,
Okay.
which dropped the road down to this section from up here.
All right, no, I'm just trying to reconcile the two.
So, yeah, I guess the main question is has that previous, what we were showing on the next slide, has that all been approved from a previous
Yeah,
agreement
that's
and
consistent
everything?
with the original preliminary plat approval.
That one there.
This one
So
here.
this has been approved and been through us, so
Yeah.
the connection and everything, okay. So it may have been different at one point, but,
Yeah,
I can't
I
remember.
may have missed the iteration where it changed, so. that's fine.
okay. All right. Does that answer your question? Any other discussions, thoughts? Or motion? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. This is a public hearing. I went through the whole explanation. All right. Sorry, we should have probably done that first before we had our own discussions. Anyhow, we will, as I mentioned, this is up for a public hearing. So at this time, I will open up this particular item for any public comment. I don't know if we received anything online or prior to this. Okay. Seeing there's nobody else in the meeting, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Heather. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we closed the public hearing. Thank you. I guess nobody was here, so I just was going to move on. All right. Go through procedure properly. All right, any other thoughts or discussion? Or motion? So yeah, this is an approval. This is not a legislative, this is an administrative item, so,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
Make a motion to approve item 4.3, the review and consideration of the preliminary plat.
I had 5 recommendations from staff.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for them on the screen.
Yeah.
With approval of the staff or with staff recommendations.
All right, we have a motion by Darrell.
A second.
A second by Heather. We'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Andrea.
Yes.
Darrell.
Yes.
Tara.
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
And Preston.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Appreciate you being here. All right. With that, any comments from the commissioners tonight? All right. Future meetings next week will be city council meeting, and 2 weeks from today will be our next planning commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Motion by Heather. Did we need a second? Second by Jackson. All right. Thank you. Boy, I'm all over it tonight.